She wasn't born on Asgard, but lightning still followed her. When Mjolnir rose for the first time in decades, it chose her. Thor vanished. Odin went silent, and war drums echoed from the Bifrost. But Earth didn't trust gods anymore. So Superman crossed realms to intervene. Wolverine followed, not to stop her, but to end the prophecy. Because what she awakened wasn't just power. It was the death of worlds. The storm didn't start in the sky. It started in her blood. Freya Halldaughter didn't know she was being watched. She didn't know the hammer existed. She didn't even know why lightning followed her down the mountainside like it had a memory. All she knew was that the moment she stepped into that ruin buried beneath the northern ice, her entire body went still. Snow fell silently outside, but inside the cavern, the air was dead and full of waiting. Then she saw it. Half buried in cracked stone, covered in frost and ash, the hammer pulsed once, faint, like a dying heartbeat. She stepped forward. It hummed, and when she raised her hand, it rose to meet her. Mjolnir. It didn't ask her name. It didn't care about her fear. It ignited the sky with a crack of thunder, so loud it split the clouds. And every satellite in orbit recorded the moment. A beam of lightning connected the girl to the weapon, and the rock shattered under her feet. Mjolnir had chosen someone again, but it wasn't Thor, and Thor hadn't been seen in over a decade. At that exact moment, halfway across the solar system, a ripple struck Superman's hearing like a sonic scream. His eyes flared, his heartbeat stuttered, and without a word to anyone, he turned from the Justice Watchtower and launched through the vacuum of space. Earth was in danger, but not from invasion, from something buried. The hammer hadn't just awakened. It had sent a signal, and not just to heroes. Beneath layers of Earth's crust, ancient sensors flickered alive in Wakanda. Across the oceans, Atlantis lit up with warnings in dead languages. And buried under the Norwegian mountains, a vault that hadn't opened in 1,000 years released steam, a fail-safe sealed by Odin himself. Freya stumbled out of the ruin, her boots crunching the ice. The hammer floated beside her, spinning slowly, almost weightless. It didn't drag her hand, it waited for commands. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Military drones reached her position within an hour. The first one scanned her. The second one fired. The lightning strike that answered didn't just destroy the drone. It erased its signal from the sky. Energy that hadn't existed since Asgard's fall pulsed through the clouds. In the upper atmosphere, Superman descended like a comet of blue and red. He landed 10 feet in front of her. Freya didn't blink. The hammer hovered behind her shoulder like it knew what he was. "I don't want to hurt you," Superman said, eyes locked on the storm around her. "But I can't let that weapon stay active." She opened her mouth to respond, but a voice echoed inside her skull before she could speak. "Let them come. Let them kneel. The trials have begun." It wasn't her voice. It wasn't the hammers. It was Odin. Freya clutched her head as the sky bent around her. The clouds above turned black, not from her, but from a far older power trying to reclaim the weapon. Superman took a step forward. The hammer moved. Lightning arced toward him, a direct pulse to his chest. He caught it midair with one hand, eyes flaring red. "You don't want to do this," he warned. But the hammer wasn't hers to control anymore. It launched from behind her, spun once midair, and struck the ground between them like a meteor. The shockwave flung her back. Superman didn't move. Dust cleared. She looked up at him and realized he wasn't scared. He wasn't even angry. He was calculating, and she wasn't sure she could beat him. But the hammer was. Deep in Canada, across frozen woods and black lakes, Wolverine drove a single claw into a map tacked to a tree. He didn't need satellites. He didn't need gods. He followed blood and instinct, and something in that mountain lightning smelled wrong, like a curse repeating itself. He muttered under his breath, "Another damn god mess." He moved. Freya ran, not from Superman, but from whatever voice was whispering through the hammer now. 3 trials, 1 bearer, 1 judgment. Each word made her hands shake. She didn't ask for this. She just touched a stone in the ice, and now every force on Earth wanted her either caged or dead. Superman followed her through the clouds. He didn't attack, he didn't threaten, but he didn't leave either. He waited for her to slip. She didn't. Not yet. They stopped near a lightning-scorched village. Half the ground was melted glass. People had fled before she arrived, as if the hammer had warned them. Superman hovered, arms crossed. "You're drawing something ancient to this world," he said. "Even the Fortress of Solitude is picking it up. The same signatures that nearly destroyed New Genesis. That hammer, it's not just Asgardian." Freya shook her head. "I didn't choose it." "No," he replied. "But now you have to decide what you are with it." Before she could answer, the sky opened. Not metaphorically, it ripped. A circular fracture of green-blue energy spread above them, and from within the split came a sound like old bones cracking. The Bifrost. But what came out wasn't Thor. It was Hela's shadow, wrapped in armor blacker than night. She didn't speak. She simply looked at Freya and smiled, the kind of smile that remembered death. Superman stepped forward, but the Bifrost vanished before he could react. And across the forest line, hidden in shadow, Wolverine crouched in silence, watching the girl. Not attacking, not warning, waiting. Because now he knew what that scent was. The same one he smelled when Asgard fell. A storm of gods was coming back, and Earth wasn't ready. The Bifrost was gone, but its aftershock stayed in the air like the breath of a dead god. Freya stood frozen, hammer glowing faintly at her side, eyes locked on the crack in the sky where Hela's shadow had just vanished. Superman landed beside her, the wind from his cape barely touching her storm. "She smiled at you," he said quietly. Freya nodded. "She's not smiling now," came another voice, low, rough, familiar, cutting through the snow like claws. Wolverine emerged from the tree line, wearing a leather jacket torn at the sleeve, blood already drying across his knuckles. He didn't draw his claws. Not yet. He was here for answers first. Superman didn't look surprised. "Logan, I smelled death," Wolverine said. "Tracked it all the way from the Yukon. Didn't know it was wearing a kid's face." Freya bristled, lightning flickering behind her eyes. "I didn't ask for any of this," she snapped. "Doesn't matter," he said, walking past her. "The hammer picked you. And when weapons pick people, bad things follow." Superman's gaze didn't leave the sky. She's been hearing Odin's voice. The hammer's waking up more than just magic. It's triggering ancient vaults. "And?" Wolverine asked. "Odin's not supposed to be alive." Wolverine growled low. "Then who the hell's whispering in her skull?" Freya backed away, hammer shaking now. The voice was returning. "Second trial begins. The dead rise. The godless return." Her legs buckled. The ground beneath them cracked open, and from beneath the ice, clawed fingers pushed up through the dirt. One hand, then another. Dozens, hundreds. Corpses armored, rotted, eyes glowing green. Einherjar. But wrong. These weren't the honored dead of Valhalla. These were the cursed, warriors lost during Ragnarok, exiled from the halls of honor. They had returned with no souls. Wolverine popped his claws with a snick. Superman's eyes burned red. Freya screamed, unleashing a blast of lightning, so intense it disintegrated the front ranks. But the army didn't stop. They weren't there to kill her. They were there to test her. Superman dove first, fists slamming into the frost-covered dead. Bodies flew, craters formed. But for every one he shattered, two more clawed their way up. Wolverine ripped through a dozen before the frost giants came behind them, lumbering blue-skinned behemoths, cracking through the trees. This wasn't a battle. It was a war zone designed to wake her blood. Freya backed up, chest heaving, hammer spinning in her hand like it had a mind of its own. Lightning arced across the mountains. Thunder rolled across continents. In Atlantis, the oceans trembled. In Wakanda, vibranium cracked for the first time in centuries. And high above it all, in the ruins of Asgard, drifting in cosmic silence, a throne sat empty until it didn't. A figure stirred. A gauntlet flexed. Thor opened one eye. He had heard her name whispered through the void. Freya. Back on Earth, Superman took a frost giant to the chest, the impact slamming him into the glacier wall with enough force to crack bedrock. He emerged unharmed but furious, heat vision searing twin trails across the battlefield. Wolverine screamed something unintelligible and launched himself off a boulder, stabbing through 2 undead warriors and tackling a third from behind. He wasn't a god, but he'd killed enough of them to count. Freya stood in the middle of the chaos, unmoving now. Mjolnir pulsed with ancient light. She raised it. The entire battlefield froze. Literally, every motion, every scream, every breath, frozen midair. Only Superman and Wolverine could still move, barely. The hammer hummed. And then she whispered something. Just one word. Enough. The wave that followed wasn't lightning. It was judgment. Every cursed warrior was disintegrated in an instant. The frost giants turned to ash. The sky cleared, and Freya collapsed. Superman caught her mid-fall. Her eyes rolled back, lips trembling, the hammer still gripped tight in one hand. Wolverine knelt beside her. That wasn't a spell. That was divine command. Superman looked down at her. She's passed the second trial. Wolverine shook his head. She's not supposed to be able to do that. From behind them, the ground rumbled again. They turned fast, ready for more. But what emerged from the cracked glacier wasn't undead or giant. It was a temple, hidden beneath the ice, forgotten by Asgard and sealed by Odin. The temple of Nulvec, the god who never spoke, the one even the All-Father feared. Superman's brow furrowed. Why is this here? Wolverine stepped forward. Because this isn't just about a hammer. It's about something older, something buried beneath all their stories. The Asgardians didn't rule the 9 realms. They covered something up. The temple doors creaked open with a roar. Inside, glowing above the altar, floated a second hammer, crude, blackened, and covered in runes no one could translate. But Freya's eyes opened. She could. The voice was back. The third trial is not survival. It is choice. Superman turned to Wolverine. We have to stop this now. Wolverine didn't move. She's already inside the temple. They rushed in behind her. The chamber was massive, shaped like the inside of a dying star, heat and cold layered in spirals. Freya approached the second hammer, her own crackling beside her like it was resisting. The 2 weapons began to orbit each other, then merge. Wolverine shouted, but it was too late. The moment the 2 hammers touched, a shockwave rippled through every realm at once. In the far reaches of space, Thor gripped his chest and roared. In hell, Hela smiled wider. And on Earth, Freya's hair lifted in slow motion as the hammer reformed, a weapon that had never existed before, forged by her choice. Mjolnir was gone. What she held now was something the gods never wanted made again. Superman stepped forward. Freya, don't lift it. She looked at him, then past him, and saw what was coming through the Bifrost again. Not Hela, not Thor. Something new. Her trial wasn't over. It had just begun. The new weapon didn't have a name. It didn't glow like Mjolnir. It didn't spin or sing. It pulsed. A low rhythmic thud that made even Superman's heartbeat stutter, like it was syncing with something older than life. Freya held it in both hands. The weapon now forged from the core of 2 hammers never meant to meet. Its surface shifted. One moment smooth, the next rippling with ancient runes. Lightning crawled across it in reverse. Even time seemed to twitch around its edges. Wolverine didn't breathe. Superman's eyes lit up. They were ready for a fight. But Freya didn't swing. She didn't run. She turned and looked into the temple shadows. The figure walking toward her didn't announce itself. No portals, no thunder, no Bifrost. But both heroes stepped back when they saw him, not because of who he was, but because he looked like everything they feared, tall, armored, glowing eyes, with a presence that bent gravity. He wasn't Odin, he wasn't Thor, he wasn't even alive, but he had Odin's crown. And when he opened his mouth, the temple screamed. I am the will of the realms, the figure said, forged by silence, unbound by gods. awakened by mistake. Freya's grip tightened. Superman stepped in front of her. Wolverine flanked right. The figure's eyes narrowed on Freya. The hammer is broken. The trials are incomplete. You were supposed to fail. Freya shook her head. I didn't ask for any of this. That's why you were chosen, the figure replied. But you chose wrong. He raised his hand. The space behind him collapsed inward. Planets flashed. Time folded. He wasn't in this realm. He was the realm. Superman launched forward in a blur, fist cocked. The punch never landed. The instant he moved, the being caught in midair, not with hands, but with thought. Superman froze, suspended, locked in an invisible grip that bent light around his body. You bleed suns, the figure said, but you've never held one in your chest. Then he flicked his fingers. Superman screamed as the energy surged through him. Not physical pain, but memory collapsing. He saw worlds he'd never visited, children he never had, futures erased. Wolverine roared and charged. His claws sliced deep into the figure's side, but instead of blood, black mist poured out, screaming like caged voices. The being turned, grabbed Logan by the face, and slammed him into the wall hard enough to crack stone. Freya stood alone, and the weapon pulsed again. She looked at it, really looked, and saw her reflection shift. Not herself, not her face. Thor's, then Odin's, then something else. Someone she didn't recognize, wearing armor made of stars, and screaming with a mouth that was half universe. Her knees buckled. The weapon was pulling her in, feeding on her lineage, amplifying her choice. The figure approached. The last time that weapon existed, Asgard burned. Freya raised it. Then maybe it should burn again. She slammed it into the ground. The universe blinked. For 1 second, every god in the 9 realms, living or dead, screamed at once. Even Hela, even Thor. Superman dropped to the floor, gasping, memory returning like a freight train. Wolverine stood, bruised but smiling, blood running down his forehead. Kids got fight, he growled. The figure wasn't damaged, but it had stopped. What are you? Freya demanded. I am Nulvec, it said. Wolverine narrowed his eyes. I thought that was the temple's name. It was my prison, Nulvec replied. Freya backed up. Then why am I holding the key? Nulvec tilted his head. Because Odin made you the lock. Lightning flared. Not from Freya, but from the walls. Ancient glyphs ignited. The temple groaned. The entire mountain began to rise. Superman looked at her, eyes serious now. He's not going to stop. I know, Freya whispered. Then don't hold back. She didn't. The weapon surged with white blue light and launched her forward. Not flying, commanding. She crashed into Nulvec like a meteor, energy flaring in all directions. The temple shattered around them. Wolverine leapt through fire and debris, claws flashing. Superman flew wide, circling to flank. Nulvec roared, his voice splitting trees for miles. He caught Freya by the wrist, and she screamed as the weapon bent back toward her face. The power inside, it didn't want to be used. It wanted to be released. Wolverine stabbed through Nulvec's back, claws finding the core of the shadow. It shrieked, throwing him aside, but the damage gave Freya enough space. She whispered to the weapon, "Be mine or be nothing," and it answered, not with words, with submission. She brought it down with both hands into Nulvec's chest, and the entire mountain exploded. When the light cleared, there was no temple, no glacier, only glass. Freya floated in the center, hair glowing, arms limp, weapon held tight. Superman hovered beside her. He's gone. No, she said. He's retreating. He wanted me to destroy him, so he could pass through the barrier. What barrier? Wolverine said, limping out of the smoke. Freya looked to the stars. The one that keeps the dead from coming back. Wolverine spit blood. Hell just opened, didn't it? Superman exhaled slowly. And she's the only thing holding it shut. Freya didn't argue, because she could already hear the voices on the other side calling her name. The wind didn't blow. It screamed. Freya hovered in the air, barely conscious, the new weapon pulsing in her hand like a living star. Beneath her, the mountain was gone, just glass and ash where a glacier used to be. Wolverine stood in the crater, cut across the chest, breathing like a warhound. Superman floated just above him, his cape torn, arms trembling, eyes locked on Freya. "What did you do?" he asked. "I finished it," she whispered. But they all knew that wasn't true, because the sky was still broken. A rift had opened behind the clouds, not the Bifrost, not a portal. Something older, something wrong. From within, shadows moved, slow and crawling, like they were remembering how to exist. Wolverine narrowed his eyes. "That ain't space. That's a gate." Freya didn't answer. She couldn't. The weapon had gone silent. Not dead, just waiting. And then a whisper rolled through the air. "You killed the prison." A figure stepped out of the rift, barefoot, floating, cloaked in black fire. His skin shimmered like obsidian and starlight. He didn't wear armor. He was armor. No weapons. No crown. Just gravity that bent reality. Superman moved first, a sonic boom cracking the silence. But the moment he got close, the figure blinked sideways, dodging without effort. "You're not gods," the being said. "Your mistakes repeating themselves." He waved a hand. Superman was flung backward, crashing into a ridge of shattered earth. Blood ran from his mouth. He didn't get back up immediately. Freya dropped to her knees. The voice filled her again. He was buried before Odin was born, before hammers, before names. Wolverine leapt, and for the first time in hours, Freya saw fear on Logan's face. Not because he thought he'd die, but because he couldn't smell this thing. It didn't bleed. It didn't live. It was before life. The figure caught him midair and held him by the throat. "You fought the children of gods," he said, "but I am what the gods feared." He slammed Wolverine down. The crater deepened. Freya stood. The weapon rose. It recognized the threat, and it pulsed differently now, not with rage, but warning. She took a step forward. The figure turned. "You are the last one left," he said. "Daughter of thunder, inheritor of a lie." Freya didn't speak. She aimed, and the weapon exploded. Not outward, inward. Every rune burned. Every scrap of power compacted into her chest. Her veins glowed. Her eyes turned white. She became the weapon, and she charged. Their clash lit up the sky like a second sun. The figure bled shadows. Freya bled light. The earth cracked. The stars blinked. And somewhere across the void, Thor opened both eyes, wide, and said one word, "Freya." Because she wasn't just his daughter anymore. She was the storm. The sky was no longer blue. It had turned silver, like it was cracking under the weight of what Freya had become. She didn't swing the weapon anymore. She was the weapon. Her body glowed with braided lightning. Her steps left scorch marks across the shattered earth, and her voice carried thunder. The godless figure, the one born before names, wasn't smiling now. He raised his hand again, and the shadows behind him moved like jaws, ready to swallow realms whole. "You shouldn't exist," he said. Freya raised her hand. "Then I'll unmake what made me." Their collision ripped the atmosphere. Wolverine pulled Superman's body to shelter behind a collapsed ridge. Blood ran from both of them, but neither looked away from the battle. "She's holding," Superman said, chest rattling. "Yeah," Logan growled. "But for how long?" Freya was faster now. Every strike was time-folded light. Every block bent gravity. The god being bled flickers of dying stars, but he kept laughing, not because he was winning, but because she was getting close. She didn't realize it, but he did. She was tearing open the final lock. The moment her power crossed the threshold, he'd become real again. The prophecy wasn't that she would destroy him. It was that she'd finish waking him. She slammed the hammer into his chest and roared, "END." But the sky shattered. Not him. The Bifrost reappeared, and from it descended Thor, armor torn, cape dragging, lightning in both eyes. He crashed into the god being from above, slamming his own hammer, not Mjolnir, but a new one, forged in the void. Together, father and daughter struck. The realm screamed. The god bled fire. And then he stopped. His body cracked down the middle, folding into itself like collapsing time. The rift behind him closed, not sealed, but paused. The universe gasped, and the light faded. Freya dropped to her knees. The weapon dissolved from her hands into dust. Thor caught her before she hit the ground. "You are not my shadow," he said. "You are my future." Superman stood, battered but smiling. Wolverine lit a cigar with what little energy was left in his bones. The war was over, but the cost hadn't been counted yet. In the days that followed, gods didn't return. Asgard remained silent. The realms shifted, and Earth changed. People no longer looked to the skies for heroes. They looked to her. Freya, daughter of thunder, breaker of hammers, survivor of trials. She didn't rebuild temples. She didn't wear a crown. She became the bridge between gods and mortals. Not a goddess, a guardian. And in the silence after war, one truth echoed across all planes. She wasn't just worthy. She was the storm itself. The end.